Hey, hi, good afternoon, guys. Are you able to hear me? This is Malak.
Yeah, hi. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes. Students are joining the
Sure,
session.
sure.
Sir?
Uh, yes, Lata. Is it Lata?
No, sir, it's Divya. You can start the session, sir. Students join.
Hi, Divya. Is it which campus is it? Are you guys in SD University campus or somewhere else?
Sir, it's SV University campus itself.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So during the discussion, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. And the discussion should help you to understand the differences between data engineering and data science, certain terminologies and the kind of work that each of these two fields involve. So that should help you to decide on which elective you want to take. Having said that, the whole program, the 2-year program, is MS in data science, right? Of handling data, browsing around tables and columns and databases.
Voice is
That
not.
will be same for both the fields.
Sir?
Uh, you are saying the voice is breaking.
Yeah, your voice is breaking. Not clear. Sir, it is displayed as your network bandwidth is low as well.
Uh, okay, so tell me if it is any better now.
You're able to.
Let me start sharing my screen. Just tell me if this way it works better.
Yes, sir, it's clear now.
Okay, so I was saying that there are certain similarities because this is a 2-year MS program in data science, right? So definitely the familiarity with databases, tables, columns, and browsing around the data will be there for each of these two electives that you, or each of these two job roles that you might want to take in the future, right? After your studies are over, or you can look for internship in either data science or data engineering. So I was thinking about, what would be the most useful things for you to know at this particular stage in your studies. Yeah, so while we talk about this, please feel free to stop me and ask any specific question that you might have. I wanted to note down a few things. This list I picked up from the syllabus that is there for you for this program. And hence I understand that for the data science elective, ML operations, machine learning operations will be there, NLP applications will be there, machine learning and predictive algorithms, data science tools, data science with PySpark, AI and deep learning through TensorFlow, and machine learning techniques. So yes, in terms of and in terms of, I think these are 3 to 4 electives that we are talking about, because these are in pairs. You out of 2 of them, you can choose only one. So the other one you might not be able to choose. But I listed down everything so that we can talk about it. And if there are any questions to choosing between data science tools or data science with PySpark, then probably we can have a discussion on that. But I'll tell you the other things. This I just noted down from the syllabus so that we get an idea of what is the name of the paper that we are talking about. Similarly, for data engineering, this syllabus has data engineering with Python, AWS, then data engineering with, again, GCP, which is the Google Cloud platform. And yeah, SQL, Python, data engineering for beginners using Google, and then Google BigQuery. So more or less it's surrounded around a cloud technology, because at this point of time, we will not be able to shy away from learning the cloud technology. Whatever we are working on, even if we are carrying out any machine learning techniques, any machine learning projects, definitely, if our local PCs or on-premise systems are not able to handle the load, uh, then there are certain other advantages for going to the cloud technologies. So AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform. So these are the top three that currently we are looking at, and hence uh, cloud is something that will come in both data science and data engineering stream also. Fine. This I wanted to talk about in a little more detail. The first two slides that I showed you, that I directly have noted down from the syllabus. So there is nothing new in that if you guys have already taken a look at the syllabus program structure. The similarities between a data engineer and a data scientist, um, the fluency that is required with databases, handling databases and data, that is same across both these streams. And a data scientist will also have to write an SQL query and try to retrieve certain records from a table, or will have to interact with vector databases. So that interaction will be there for both the streams. And playing around with the data, trying to understand what is the nature of the data, how many records are there in the table, whether in the case of a data extraction or a data transfer, whatever total number was intended, do we have that intended number in the output? Might be in the form of a file or in the form of a target table or something. So that both data engineers and data scientists will have to do. And also, you will have to note that a data engineer or a data scientist belongs to the same team of AI, artificial intelligence. In many organizations in the industry, currently, you will find these four teams inside under AI. One team will be data engineering, the second team will be data science, third will be data governance, and the fourth will be ML ops, machine learning operations. Data engineers mostly data engineers mostly work on creating data pipelines, as in how to move the data from the source to a particular destination, so that the data scientist can pick that data from there and further analysis can be done on that. So a data engineer mostly works with movement of the data and ensuring that the data is moved correctly and the data types are also retained correctly from the source to the destination, and creating pipelines, because we call it a pipeline because it need not be in most of the cases, it will not be a one-time activity. If I have collected the data with a timestamp till yesterday, after another 10 days, the new data will also be required, right, to be analyzed. So how do you do the delta? Somebody cannot sit and manually run all the SQL queries and get the data transferred from one database to another database and all of that. A pipeline has to be created and automated so that the daily refresh of the data happens in the target table. And that refresh, I gave you the example of 10 days, but usually it happens every day. During the night time when the business is away, out of business hours, people do those data refreshes, and the data science team or the data analyst picks up that data and analyzes. The data governance, the data governance teams mostly try to look at which of the data is sensitive information and needs to be masked. and various user personas. For example, the governance team is responsible for ensuring that in my database, there could be, let's say, 6 different types of user personas. For one user type, these are the sets of tables that this particular user type can have access to. Similarly, for the other 5 different user types. So, database and data access management, data masking, giving authorization to, let's say, either only view the data or update the data, all of that falls under the scope of data governance team. ML Ops, it stands for machine learning operations. And in machine learning operations, the data engineering team created and transferred the data to the target tables or the target database. The data science team did the analysis and built a prediction model, for example. And the data governance team has governed the access to the data, creation of models and everything. The fourth team, it takes those models and deploys that into the production environment. When I say that, it means, again, another pipeline has to be created where the model is deployed in the production environment, and that team decides how that model needs to be consumed by the end user or the business users. Because if I build a prediction model, probably it has to it has to fit into one existing IT application, and the predicted values or the predicted value has to appear in one of the screens on a field, right? Something like that, for example. And in order for that to appear there, the model has to be deployed in a particular location, and it has to be invoked from the IT application. So that whole pipeline, ML Ops takes care of. And I see that in your data science elective, it starts with ML Ops. This slide that I showed you, right? So which means that there is a flavor of ML Ops in this data science elective also. And the other similarities are, within one project will definitely involve each of these 4 teams in different proportions. In some projects, might be the data science team is highly involved because there are 20 different models, predictive models that need to be built. The data engineering team might not be involved a lot because they have already completed a lot of data transfers in the last project, right? 6 months ago. And the same data can be used by the data science team. So depending on what additional data is required for the data scientists, for the data science analysis, the workload will be there on the engineering team. ML Ops will have to be always involved, because the moment we are talking about data science and the model has to go somewhere, the dashboard has to be displayed somewhere, the ML Ops will always be involved with different proportions, each of these 4 teams. And as I said, sometimes the data engineering activity, which means a bulk transfer of data from one database to another database, might serve the purpose of 4 or 5 different data science projects, right? If they transfer in bulk. So yeah, that is one thing I wanted to tell. And of course, all of these 4 teams, because they form part of the AI team, they have to solve their specific single goal is to solve a business problem. Yeah, so I'll stop here. There is one more thing that I want to tell about this particular topic, but I'll take any questions if there are. I'll take questions if there are any. Ask me if there are any questions or doubts we can discuss. If required, please unmute and ask any questions. Otherwise, we can move on. Is my voice audible clearly, or is there still some problem?
Hi, sir. This is Pallavi.
Hi, Pallavi. Go ahead.
I'm faculty of this MSDS. So, as of now,
Sure,
students
man.
have any queries? No, right? Okay. Well,
Sure.
uh,
We can move on in that case. The
yes.
other thing I wanted to tell was, do not limit yourself to only a specific of this area, which means, and do you see the overlap among all of these streams that we are talking about? Just because I have taken a data science elective doesn't mean that I am far away from data engineering, because the kind of activities are almost same. And when, as a data scientist, you have to interact with the data engineer for your data, you have to understand what he is doing, right? You cannot be completely blind of that. So earlier we used to say that in a skill distribution, it was okay to have a T-shaped skill set, which means only one area you are completely expert in, and all the other areas you can be very light. But now, instead of the T-shaped, it becomes a V-shaped. The industry requires V-shaped skill set, which means if I am the data science team, I need to know data science very well. Along with that, I need to know at least some good volume of data engineering activity, good volume of data governance and MLOps. Even though I am not carrying out those activities myself, I need to collaborate with the other teams and need to understand and guide accordingly, right? So there is a lot of overlap in all of these. And the same is the case with programming, coding, programming, designing the solution, unit testing, and then getting it system integration tested and all of that. Uh, Sometimes in smaller companies, only 2 or 3 people will be there. How do you divide a 3 or 4 people team among these for these 4 different roles? You cannot, right? While the data science or data engineering activity is going on, the one or two MLOps guys cannot sit idle. So what effectively happens is one person has to do almost 3 out of these 4 things. So that learning ability you'll have to create. That is the most critical message I wanted to give you through this. Even though we talk about different streams and channelizing our efforts, still very likely you will be required to work on all of these things. Right. If there are no questions, we can talk about the differences. Uh, in terms of a role and responsibility, mostly, let's say 70% or 80% of a data engineer's activity uh, circles around data movement, creation of data pipelines, data refreshes that I mentioned. And it's for them, I have seen data engineers who are still okay without knowing the business functionalities completely. I mean, the data in the back end, in the background, a lot of business also I will learn, because the moment you do a select distinct of a particular categorical variable in a table, you will come to know that there are these 4 types of marketing campaigns that the business gives, right? So a data guy can easily do the query and find out that this organization promotes only 4 types of marketing campaigns. To get that information, somebody who is not able to browse through the database properly, he will have to go and talk to the business or read a document from somewhere which has to explain that there are these 4 marketing campaigns and, let's say, other related parameters or attributes to those marketing campaigns. Let's say, for example, the first marketing campaign happens in the first quarter. The second marketing campaign happens in the second quarter. Tell me if you have access to a table or and in the databases, will you not be able to easily find out all the information, do a group by, and they will understand. So that may not be the master table. Still, because the transactions are very high, right? The volume of transactions are very high. Definitely, you will see a good set, which will be equivalent to a master set. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys have gone into details of SQL queries, databases, tables. So what I'm just saying is, through the backend also, a data engineer can get to know a lot of business functionalities. But I have seen many people who are good without that also.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, any questions?
Yes, sir. Can you tell me the flow of data engineering from the start to the end point? And what are the softwares currently used for the data engineering?
The flow of data engineering, there wouldn't be a specific different flow only for data engineers. The whole flow of the project, right? The data has to start from, let's say, for example, 5 different sources, data sources. And all those sources are there in different servers, in different types of databases. The first source is in Oracle, the second one is in Hadoop and stuff like that. If a data science project has to be executed, so the first step is for the data engineer to to sit with the data scientist and identify out of those 4 databases, which are the tables and columns that will be required for building the model. So that identification of data is the first step for anyone. I'm not saying it is for data engineer or for data scientists specifically. The whole team, AI team, that identification of the data and their location. Then the second step would be how to bring all those data and dump them in a staging area or in some intermediate database. Because once it is dumped, you don't have any more dependency on those 4 or 5 different databases. See, because those 4 or 5 databases will belong to 4 or 5 different teams and they will be under different managers. To keep on continuously working with them and try to fine tune everything before doing the first dump is difficult. So what we usually do, okay, whatever tables and whatever data looks interesting, let's get a dump of everything. Then we will think about the next step, which is how do we merge these or associate these 4 different data sources, the data that we are collecting. Because in one database, the customer details will be there, the marketing campaign details will be there. In another database, the billing system and the financials will be there. If there is a data science project which requires a churn prediction, which of these customers are going to churn, then I have to look at the customer history. I'll have to look at the billing history and everything, right? So this merging has to be done by the data engineer. So the step number 2 to your question is this: the consolidation of data from the 4 different sources. First was dumping the data in an intermediate database. Second step is consolidation. Third step is from the intermediate database, it has to go to a final database where the data can be consumed by the data scientist. Once the data scientist has the data, probably the data engineer will have to keep on looking, because by transferring the data once doesn't mean that the model will perform the best the first time. What if during the analysis, people realize that, oh no, another 3-4 columns should be brought for each of the customers. Only then the model might be better. In that case, what will happen? The data engineer will again repeat step number 1, step number 2, and then step number 3, which is passing on the final data, merging them, and stuff like that. Does that answer your question? Might be you are on mute.
Yes, sir. And what are
Yeah.
the current trends and softwares have been used now?
Here I see the first thing that you ask is ETL, Informatica and all was used, and I probably it is also used to a lot extent these days. I have not worked in detail in data engineering, but I know that ETL is used for the data transfer, and these days uh, for um, uh, for big data, Kafka and Spark, uh, which are and Python, PySpark, and SQL stored procedures are also probably used. And each of these cloud providers, they also provide a lot of these tools for carrying out data engineering activities. So to be precise, I do not know the exact name of the tools of what are used, but whatever I mentioned, those are the ones that I have seen being used. Informatica a little earlier, and now whatever you are seeing on the screen, all of these are the ones that will be used. Because it also depends on the database that you are using, right? If it is Google BigQuery, GCP, Google Cloud Platforms database is called Google BigQuery. So if you want to transfer from a different database and try to put it in Google BigQuery, I'm not sure if there is just a single tool which will be able to do that transformation. I might be wrong. Might be there is something which will directly do the transformation from a transactional database to something like a Google BigQuery. Yeah, if any one of you knows it, you can probably add on to this.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, and for data science, okay, sorry, the data refreshes that we talked about and architecture of the data storage, right? Mostly the data engineers, actually among the, under the data engineering team, there would be certain people who are specifically called data architects. Their job is to create models, data models. Remember that I'm not talking about machine learning models. That is why whenever I mention models, I very particularly mention either it is a data model or a machine learning model. A data engineer, when he creates a data model, he will be able to do these transformations and he will be able to decide what should be the architecture, whether we should have one single table with a primary key, another table with a foreign key, or we should have, instead of 2 tables, we should have 5 different tables, and how these tables will be connected to each other, and whether we should have, these days, what is the big decision? Whether we should, how much of our data should be in operational databases and how much of our data should be in vector databases in documents and collections, right? Because most of the generative AI and large language model activities, most of these unstructured data these days are stored in vector databases like MongoDB, Pinecone. Pinecone is a completely vector database. It does not support operational data. Whereas MongoDB, it has the vector storage capability along with the operational data. And by operational data, I mean mostly the RDBMS kind of data that we have earlier seen in Oracles and Postgres, SQL, MySQL, and all of those, right? So that architecture also, there would be a section under engineering who would be called the data architects. I have mentioned earlier, they will focus on, after they have gotten the data, they will focus on how to analyze the data, how to summarize and understand the data, and based on the business requirement or the business problem that the team is solving, what are the insights that will help solve that business problem. For example, if the business problem says that, oh no, there was a lot of churn last quarter. If that happened all of a sudden and out of the blue, then the data scientist's job is to go and check what are the other parameters which are varying between this quarter and all the other quarters, all the other last 4-5 years quarters. Some pattern should be there, right? If all of a sudden a lot of churn happened this quarter. And so that is a data scientist or a data analyst's job, to find out why something happened, to play around with the data, to understand where there is a pattern, to understand the correlation, or to find out what caused what. So that is a data scientist's job. And within the data scientist group, there is another group of, there is another stream called machine learning engineers, ML experts, machine learning experts. But you have to be careful. It's very risky just to call oneself a machine learning expert, because a machine learning expert's job is to collect, to prepare the training data for building a model, to evaluate 10, 15, 20, 30 different models while he is building, and pick up the best model based on the evaluation parameters. The best model will be doing something like, let's say, predicting the sales or predicting the revenue for the next 4 quarters, or predicting the churn for the next 4 quarters. In that case, the machine learning expert, if it is a very big team, as in if there are, let's say, 400, 500 people in the AI team, then definitely there will be 10 or 15 people who are purely machine learning experts. In that case, their job will be only this: to prepare training data, to build models, evaluate models, find out the best model, and ensure that it does the best prediction. That's all. That is a machine learning expert's job. But as I said, don't, even if it is a big organization, don't limit yourself only to that, because if you limit yourself only to that, you will face the challenge the moment there is a slight disturbance in the industry or in the company or whatever. You will be easily dispensable, right? Somebody who knows a bit of data engineering, somebody who knows data exploration, insights, prediction, ML ops, he will be more preferable than somebody who knows only ML model building. So that is the V-shaped learning I was talking about, and I am facing that. I am realizing that in the industry a lot. Right. Any questions before we move on? If there are no questions, there are certain terminologies that I just collected for you guys.
Hello, sir.
Take a look at this script. Yeah, go ahead. If there is any question, please go ahead.
Sir, just have a small question.
Yeah,
You said about machine learning expert now, sir.
yeah.
The thing is that they are trying to build the machine learning model from the scratch, or they are just using the sklearn package, sir, the machine learning experts.
Okay. So there are two things here. The sklearn package is built depending and following an algorithm. The algorithm was designed and created by a data science, by some statistics researcher or some PhD guy who is doing research in an university or in an organization. He has designed the algorithm, and that algorithm somebody took, created a package in Python, let's say sklearn's random forest, And we are using that. So a data scientist that we are talking about here, all this while I have been only talking about using an existing algorithm like the random forest algorithm. And you understand the difference between an algorithm which is designed and created by a researcher and a package in Python which is written by a programmer. And a data scientist like me who simply uses that sklearn package to do my analysis. While doing my analysis, I never go back and try to fiddle around or play around with random forest algorithm. Probably I don't have the know-how. And I mean, if I were in an university, or if I were in a research-based company, probably my job would be to fine-tune the random forest algorithm which was created by a researcher 10 years ago, and create mine. I'll call it random forest underscore Malay algorithm. And there will be another Python package called random forest underscore Malay underscore RF package. And then you guys, or all the data scientists, will keep on using that, right? So there is a difference between a researcher who creates an algorithm. There is another programmer who programs that algorithm to create a Python package. And there are people like data scientists who are not basically researchers. They use those packages to carry out our analysis. Now, is that difference clear? Don't mix these terms.
Yes, sir, I think it's clear. But my question is that should we need to know about how to build it from the scratch, sir? Is that will be helpful for us to become a good ML expert?
Not from scratch, but you have to understand how it is working, right? If I am using a decision tree model to predict a decision, then while studying and while working on decision tree, I went through all analytics vidya, where the tree branches, where it starts from the root node, and if the value is this, it goes to the left, it goes to the right, what is a information gain, what is a leaf node. So all this theoretical knowledge I collected, captured, and then started working hands-on in those algorithms. Otherwise, you will not be able to uh, understand why certain parameters should have a specific value. If this parameter should have a value between 0.5 to 1, or between 0 to 0.5. Unless you understand the internal workings of that particular algorithm, you will not be able to do. But when you ask whether you should modify it from scratch or code it from scratch, no, unless you are in that role. See, one of us among the data scientists can go on for higher studies and do a PhD and then get into that role, right? That is not closed for us. I probably, if given time, I will go and try to drill down into the decision tree algorithm and try to find out and create something better than a decision tree, right? That possibility also is there. But that is if we are assuming that we are going to use the decision tree model, a machine learning expert need not work from scratch on building a decision tree algorithm. That package is already available with us. The best way to utilize our time and budget available with us in the industry is to reuse those packages, because those are, those are tried and tested packages. But people in Google and OpenAI and Microsoft, what are they doing? They are creating their own stuff, right? TensorFlow and all these LLMs, they are leading the industry because they have a research team within that organization. So they will do, of course.
So thank you, sir. And adding to your question, sir, even the deep learning model will give you the better result, sir, when compared to the ML models. So is that preferable to go with the deep learning models, or we can stick with the ML models?
Uh, it has been seen that deep learning models have performed much better than the classical ML models. I am using the term classical ML models for the random forest, decision tree, linear regression, logistic regression, and the non-classical part would be probably the deep learning that you're saying, or more specifically, the non-classical part is the LLMs, large language models, and generative AI. So generative AI and large language models are also part of the deep learning. Um, your your question is right. There is a lot of inclination and interest towards using deep learning models instead of the classical ML models. Everybody is moving towards that, and many people have proved that deep learning models are performing and giving better accuracy than the classical ML models.
Sir, at the end, I just want to ask that these LLM models are being overhyped, sir. What I feel is that because all the LLM models are taking API from the OpenAI resources and they are building their own product. Whether that will count as an AI, sir?
Yes, that also falls under the ambit of AI, but it will be another 1.5 hour discussion if we want to discuss and clarify and discuss certain things about generative AI, what we call a foundational LLM, what we call an LLM, then fine tuning, then enhancing an LLM's performance through RAG and all of that. That will be a long discussion, but since you mentioned LLM and we are using APIs, so I'll just like to mention here that what OpenAI has developed and what Meta is developing, what Google is developing, those are foundational LLMs. In order for those foundational LLMs to be suitable for a hospital, to be suitable for a retail company, to be suitable for an agriculture business company, it has to be taken and fine-tuned with their respective domains data. So that is fine-tuning. And the other thing is, when I say I am working in India, I am working on LLMs, I mostly say in 99% of the cases, I am using an existing LLM or fine-tuning it or using RAG, retrieval augmented generation, to use that LLM and use it for my purpose, reuse it for my purpose. I am not building LLMs from scratch, because building LLMs from scratch requires a lot of computing power, and with that computing power, it runs for 55 or 60 days, the whole training process. So even though I know theoretically how to train an LLM, there is no point in because OpenAI and all these companies, organizations which had a lot of budget and they have a lot of computing power at their disposal, they have taken all the sentences and online sentences and documents and everything. It is understanding and interpreting and generating natural language properly. So in addition to that natural language, what do you want? Let's say, for example, I want an LLM to produce Python code for me whenever I have a doubt. So what do? I take OpenAI's, let's say, Chat GPT 3.5. I mean, it's not free. Let's say I take any free like Llama 2 or Llama 3 from Meta. I download that LLM, try to retrain it along with a lot of Python code and all. Actually, Meta has exactly done that. The Llama 3 or Llama 2, they always have 3 versions. One is for the foundational one. The second one is for code llama for Python. The third one is for llama instruct. The llama instruct is supposed to understand natural language well. The code llama for Python is supposed to generate Python codes well. So I just wanted to clarify this when you talk about LLMs and using APIs. The moment I use APIs of OpenAI, I am only using the foundational LLM created by OpenAI. There is no way I can do any changes to that, right? I can only use my another database, use an additional database which contains my documents and my data. And before passing the question or the prompt to the LLM, I'll say, oh, okay, I wanted to ask the question related only to these three products. Then before passing the prompt, I can augment or enhance the prompt by browsing my database, my local database, and finding out, okay, only all information related to these three products, so that the generic foundational LLM of OpenAI is able to become contextual. That process is called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Does that give you some idea of? But you are saying hyped. Yeah, there are different points of view on that. I don't think it is hyped. There is substance in it. There is some. People call it magical, but I know that it's just predicting the next word. It's as simple as that. But because of the volume, all the sentences that are available online, imagine the volume of different scenarios and different texts it has to predict the next word, predict the most probable next word. So it will always be meaningful, right? That's how it gives an impression that it understands the language. It does not understand the language at all. Yeah. So any further questions?
I just wanted to add, sir, that if possible, can we change that certain model, sir? I mean, if we want to restrict some kind of input from the user in that kind of LMO models, whether we can change it or fine tune it, sir, is that possible?
Yes. There are three ways of using an LLM. Use the number one, use the foundational LLM directly without any change through an API or whatever. Number two, fine tune. Whatever you are asking is called fine tuning, specifically based on the kind of data I want it to learn. The third one is RAG that I said. Don't fine tune, don't change the model. I don't want to retrain because that will also be very costly, right? Such a big model, I will be retraining with so much of data for another 20 days. I don't want that. So what I will do, I will take the foundational model, but instead of passing prompts directly to the foundational model, I will augment the prompt with my data that is there. If I am a healthcare company or a hospital, I will put all the hospital data,
Understood.
augment the prompt with additional product names, campaign names, patient names, only then pass it. That is the third way. So three ways of interacting with the LLM. And who allows for fine tuning? The open source LLMs, Metas, and
This,
I think, yeah,
so the recent news
go ahead.
was that one courier company was added this LLM model into their website, sir. And what happened is that the user has given some certain prompt in which the OpenAI they have said that this courier company is a worst in their user experience. Are you understanding, sir? If the user is
This
trying to give certain input and it has been taken from the open sources and internet, what is available in the internet, it is giving back the answer to them, sir. Which they have found that it's hurting their business itself.
hurting the courier company's business, is it?
Yes, sir. That is ART, I think so.
Yeah. I am not sure about that news, but something you said which is not directly in line with LLMs.
Yes, sir.
You are saying
They
the
created
courier
a
company
chat
is
box.
also.
chat box
Yeah.
from the OpenAI source. They have created their own chat box from the OpenAI things.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these pre LLM, whatever chatbots we saw, right? Online chatbots on their websites, on people's websites, on organizations' websites.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, the options used to come.
Yes, sir.
Option number one, something. Option number two, something.
Yes,
Choose
sir.
one of these 7 options.
Yes,
Things
sir.
like that used to come, IVR kind of a stuff,
Sure, sure,
which
sir.
was not very free flowing and in terms of natural language. But now you see the chatbots in the website, everybody has integrated natural language understanding from the LLMs.
Yes, sir.
And how can they do that? Any of the 3 options that I said.
Okay, sir.
1, 2, 3. Out of those 3 options, they have to decide which one is cheaper for them, which
Yes,
one
sir.
is most efficient for them, and accordingly decide how they want to use the LLM.
So, in case if a client tells that if someone is telling something bad about their company, their prompt must be in such a way that it should always respond in a right way. Is that possible, sir, using the prompt engineering?
See, I guess so, because that is one of the concerns that I have also been discussing, because when I mean that's again another big topic. We have collected all the historical data to train the LLM,
Yes, sir.
and in the historical data, as you were saying, there will be some abusive words, there will be some inequality based words, there will be some bias, we call it, right?
Yes, sir.
Bias in human understanding, bias in the society, socio-economic bias, disregard for certain things. So all the negative stuff. And we have trained our LLMs on those negative stuff. So now, if you ask LLM to behave in a way, it only knows those negative stuff are also there, part of the knowledge. One way is, let's say the problem that happened with Gemini, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Probably they will go back to the drawing board and try to plug a lot of things. The model is already built for 60 days or 70 days, by exhausting so much of resources. Now they can only, like, let's say, put if then else conditions and stuff like that and try to patch up certain things. I'm guessing that would be possible. For example, the example that you are saying, right? If you don't want slang words to be there,
Yes, sir.
in that case, can I not have create a database having 10,000, 20,000 slang, improper and biased words or
Okay.
phrases, and while passing the prompt or while getting the response from the LLM, I don't I don't show the user the LLM's response directly. I will first qualify it with the database that I prepared for
Okay.
bad words,
Sure, sure.
filter them out, and then provide the good behavior, right? So that is that will be doable. That is what I'm imagining, but I'm not sure how easy it is.
Okay, okay, sure.
I'm saying 20,000 bad words.
Okay.
There would be another thing which is not a bad word, but it hurtful for some religion or for some country and all of that, right? How many of that are you going to stop?
Understood. So thank you.
And
Thanks a lot, sir.
yeah, and in addition to that, there is something called SLM, small language models. That what happens there is they don't take blindly everything available online. They take content from the textbooks, they take content from certified data, they take content from published data. So what happens? The behavior of the LLM becomes good, and the authenticity improves. But what is the price we are paying? It will not understand
Efficiency.
everything we are saying. The
Yes, sir.
way ChatGPT does, it understands everything because it it has been trained on bad words and good words and bad sentences and good sentences. The moment
Sure,
you
sure.
have an SLM with only good sentences, its understanding capability goes down. So that's
Understood.
called. So all of these trade-offs are there, and there is a lot of regulatory chaos that is going on. The US
Okay.
government, the French government, Indian government, everybody is trying to find out what is the best way to regulate.
Sure, sure.
So anyway, probably we can share these slides, or if we have time, take a look at this slide, the terminologies that I have collected for you. If you want to know about any of these terminologies, ask me, I will explain. Anything anyone would like to know from this list?
Sir, apart from these terminologies, you have mentioned what is I mean by ML ops, sir.
Yes. Yeah. I think, we should include ML ops. We should include probably data engineering also, right? And even though we are talking about specific streams, I would like to reiterate, don't limit yourself to a single stream. You have to be very widely read. You will have to be very widely knowledgeable in all of these streams, simply because the way the world is functioning currently. And you guys be there on LinkedIn and subscribe or start following certain data engineering or data science groups, artificial intelligence groups. You will come to know a lot of things that are happening in the industry, because it's difficult to find these things in a textbook. Just last Friday or Saturday, the Llama 3 came. I downloaded in my local system Llama 2. And then I see the news that Llama 3 came that very day. Then I'll have to download that again and repeat the whole process, right? Which textbook is going to tell me that Llama 3 is also there and I have to take Llama 3 instead of Llama 2? So, a very nice source is LinkedIn, and check your Google News and subscribe to all of these um, data science, data engineering, data artificial intelligence related groups. You will come to know what is happening in the industry. Does that make sense?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
So Pallavi, right? Did I get the name right? Anything else you would like to discuss? Any other points you would like me to touch upon?
Sir, actually, students doesn't have any queries as of now. Uh, if they encounter any queries, I will get back to you, sir.
Sure, sure. Feel free. Probably you can take my mobile number and ping me in WhatsApp whenever there is any question. We can talk or we can discuss.
Sure,
And
sir.
and whatever I am saying, in another 10 days, 15 days, something more would have happened, and I'll come back and say, oh, okay, something more has happened, and forget about these 3, 4 top organizations. Another good LLM has come, and everybody is running behind that. So everything changes. The whole game changes again. So that's how the whole industry and the world is now. You keep yourself updated with what is happening. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, anything from student side to ask? Nothing? Sir, there is no more queries as of now. We could just end up this session, not a problem.
Sure. So, thanks a lot, guys, for listening, and I hope this session is useful, and I hope we keep discussing, because in 1 hour you might not get the whole world's knowledge that is that will be required for your future. So, develop some small habits of reading anything and everything, whatever comes in front of you. Keep reading, keep programming, and don't limit your skills to any particular thing. Be curious and keep learning and have fun. You don't need to spoil your health or spoil your complete life, uh, because you have to code or because you have to learn. Just enjoy the process. Yeah. And probably you don't even have to score a lot. Just do normal, just do average and learn a lot instead of scoring a lot. Yeah, now Pallavi ma'am will scold me.
No, sir, not at all. Actually, people are saying that they're gonna chill and they're gonna learn.
Yeah. That's what they should do, because a lot of learning comes just naturally, just being in the system. You don't have to break your head and sit for 15-20 hours every day to mug up from books and all of that. I told you, right? Books are so outdated now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's close for today.
Yes, sir. We'll look forward for your upcoming sessions. Thank you for the day, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye. Have a nice evening, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.